Hey,
All right, we'll start. So my name is Jimmy Vong. I am the social worker. This is my colleague, Joanna. Please introduce yourself.
hi, I'm Joanna Ransdell. I'm also a social worker with UM-Dearborn Counseling and Psychological Services.
Okay, so the first part that we're introducing today is how to navigate physical touch in regards to this whole pandemic, right? Oops.
And this is Noah. He likes to make appearances for my videos. So,
Yep. So understanding our own personal growth and development means everything in this journey. It's very essential at this time, right? To practice our love languages. And unfortunately, for our people who practice physical touch, it's very challenging for them.
absolutely. So, maybe we could give like a little overview of the five love languages to start.
Yep.
Jimmy, do you want to tell us a little bit about what the five love languages are?
So the five love languages are physical touch, um, affirmation, gifts, active services, and quality time. So it's really important to know which one is your love language, right? So let's say if you're a person who loves receiving hugs or hold on to those long pause of hugs, right? You're most likely a person who is a physical touch um, love language person. Or if you're a person who constantly give compliments or tends to say encouraging things, you're more likely an affirmation person,
Right.
right?
Yeah, so the five love languages was developed to kind of understand yourself, but also understand relationships that you're in,
Mm-hmm.
because many of us have very different ways of giving and receiving love or feeling loved by others.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if my love language is physical touch and somebody else I care about, their love language is more like acts of service. We might be on different wavelengths sometimes. So it's
100%.
important to have that kind of self knowledge. And I encourage you, if you're tuning in and you're like, I don't really know what my love language is, Google five love languages. There'll be a ton of free resources to find out which one yours is. And hopefully you can use the information from this webinar to kind of help yourself, unpack that a little bit more and get to know what you value and you need in your relationships.
For sure, for sure. And I think today takeaway is that we're going to focus a lot on physical touch, but also I'll be reminded that there are certain guidelines that we're trying to stay in line, but also encourage you to approach things in a safety measure, right? Because to be honest here, since day one we were born, being touched is a sign of affection, a sign of comfort. It's something that we all need and thrive for. And as of lately, we all been lacking that, been deprived from it, and that can really cause you to affect your emotional state, your mindset, really challenge a person.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the big question of the hour is, out of the five love languages, right? If physical touch is one of your primary love languages, how does that really affect you being in a pandemic where physical touch isn't as accessible,
Mm-hmm.
right? So hopefully we can kind of discuss some ways to adjust to the new environment, how to kind of meet those needs for yourself, and what to kind of do about that, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so so how have you been adjusting to that, Jimmy? Like, what are some things that have been helpful to you?
So I think early on, when everything was much stricter guidelines, we were all zooming, right? But I think at the moment we're kind of just zoomed out. We're just looking at the computer. What we can recognize is that our numbers are being more controlled based on people being diagnosed with COVID-19. So you can definitely reach out to people who've been safe. Find a small group of friends who's been safe, who's been quarantined, who has been taking measurement of maintaining being safe, right? And you're okay to visit those people. You're okay as long as you feel comfortable, as long as you feel safe. I'm not telling you to do these things, but as long as you're both aware that you've been playing it safe and that you can spend time together.
Yeah, and even if it feels like you're not comfortable with like hugs yet or physical touch in itself, having that physical proximity can be really powerful and helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So finding ways to like maybe spend time outside 6 feet apart, even with masks, if that helps you feel safer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now that we're able to get outside a little bit more, there can be a lot of benefits to that, right?
Mm-hmm. So I know that a lot of musicians are doing a lot of like virtual concerts online during this time. So why not meet up with some of your friends who's been safe and chill in their household and listen to some music together, dance together, you know, that's some form of touching, right? And just enjoy each other's time.
Yeah, for sure. Because we all need each other right now. We all need those relationships. So finding
Mhm.
ways to kind of have that connection with people is so important.
Mhm.
Another like really great way to kind of use physical touch, even like let's say you're immunocompromised and you really can't get out of the house. Um, Weighted blankets, right? There's
Mhm.
these things that they're like filled with kind of like beads, and they're blankets you can put across your body, and it feels like you're being like kind of enclosed in a cocoon, and it can feel very
Mhm.
comforting. Folks with
Mhm.
anxiety kind of benefit from those, right? Maybe you have people in your household you're quarantining with, so getting some hugs and cuddles and watching a movie. I know for myself, I'm a pet person. You can see one of my cats up here. I've got a cat right here as well, right? I'm all about the cats. So pet cuddles, that can be
Mhm.
really healing and wonderful for physical touch.
And for sure, I agree with all of that. If you're a person who's more can't doesn't have the option of reaching out to friends, but you still seek that physical touchness, sometimes you can go in public, maintain eye contact with someone, direct
Ooh,
contact, right?
yeah.
And or waving to your neighbors, you know, those small, you know, uh, endorphins, however you want to call it, right? Is it called endorphins, right? Helps you really, really reset yourself, just really interacting with people and connecting with someone again, rather than just staying, maintaining in one place and not really working on yourself.
Yes, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that connection is so important, right?
Mm-hmm. 100%. 100%.
So another thing that can be helpful about taking this assessment to see what your five love languages are. Usually, it's not just like you have one and then the rest are zero, right? We usually have like a secondary love language. So even if physical touch is your primary, maybe you can find out what of the other four you also are strong in and use that as well.
For
So
sure.
one of the love languages is gifts, like receiving gifts or giving. So Jimmy, what do you have as examples from your past experiences with gifts as a love language?
I think my family alone, they've been nonstop with the gifts. I
Yeah.
think I think early on, a lot of my family is they love shopping, so they tend to shop for each other. So anytime one of us went shopping, they're like, "What do you need? I'm dropping something off for you." And next thing you know, it became like almost like small community of us offering it to our friend because it started that chain reaction. My parents bought me this. It's too much. You guys need any of this? Start gifting it out. You know. One time I did order some Uber Grubhub for my cousin in Texas. So that's something I did for them, just to show some affection, right? Say, hey, here's something from me. I've been thinking about you. Um, Another thing is to set up a movie theater at your friend's home, outside, at the wall. You know, offering that place for them to come by, in case they've been stuck at home for so long. Um, Asking what they need for fulfilled. Follow through with that. Your gift could be anything. It could be emotional. It could be just giving your time, right, to reaching out to somebody. It could be a physical gift. It could be a small trinket. As of lately, a lot of my friends are writers, and they tend to write me like mail letters, which is different. It's way different from receiving an email, right? And it's very short, it's very brief, but it has like a silly picture of them. It's almost like a Christmas card, but with during this pandemic. Um, yeah.
Yeah, having a tangible letter I think is really cool. Like a lot of us don't do that anymore, but it can feel really nice. Like somebody thought about me and like went to the effort of like writing this letter and putting it in the mail.
For sure. Joanna, what about you? I know gift is one of those love languages really challenging for you to do. Can you
Yeah. Yeah. So gifts is not one of my main love languages. I often find myself like when I have to give gifts, like for example, Father's Day is coming up and it's just like stressing me out. It's like, what does my dad really need? What is a way I can give him a gift that's really going to show him like um, that I care about him? And I think sometimes like using the other love languages as gifts can be helpful. Like I like how you said um, in your notes, like time can be a gift, Like,
Hmm.
I don't know if I'm able to do that this year because of COVID, but I usually like go golfing with my dad for Father's Day because he really enjoys it, and it's just a way to spend time doing something he really likes to do. So that can be a gift in a way. For myself, though, I definitely have gotten gifts that really brightened my day. For example, my 30th birthday was in April, kind of at the height of coronavirus.
Hmm.
And I had all these thoughts of like, I'm going to take a trip or I'm going to go celebrate with all my friends. And I wasn't able to do that. And it bummed me out.
Hmm.
And one of my friends sent me this, just like a cute little like poster with my astrological sign on it to hang in my doorway, and a really nice letter. And it just really brightened my day that she was like at least thinking of me, and, you know, went to the effort of picking out a gift I would like and sending it to me on my birthday.
Hmm.
So I think something really thoughtful that shows you really know that person and you're paying attention, um, that always does brighten your day. So gifts
For
could be
sure.
great.
My birthday was also right beginning of it, March 21st. So I totally feel you. One thing that we've been doing within my group of friends is doing drive-bys with all of our cars, like a rally, and just waving hi and dropping off gifts and, you know, playing music from our car. But it's only literally 2 minutes, but it really brightens up the person's day because you're
Yeah,
giving them your time and
it
you
makes a
surprise
difference.
them 100%. You know, things are a little bit different now, but we're navigating between that.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it just shows that that person's thinking about you and you're important to them.
Hmm. If you feel like you can also go beyond just friends, if you want to start providing for your community, there's a different way to gift to people, right?
Yes, gifting your time and your work for the community. That's so important right now.
Hmm.
Like picking up some extra cans of food and dropping them off at a food bank, or, you know, mowing somebody's lawn. I guess that really falls in a different category that we're going to talk about later, but you
For sure, for sure.
know.
One thing that can be a really cheap gift is printing off images, you know, group photos of yourself, reminding people, hey, we're still here for you. You know, that within itself is such a great reminder. Okay, we're
Love
still here
it.
for you.
Yeah,
It's been a minute since we've seen each other, but I can't wait for us to reunite.
I love it. Yes.
Yeah. So another one we're talking about is word of affirmation. This is one of your love languages, Joanna. So what's one way people can feel love and appreciated through the word of affirmation?
Yeah, so I would say my top one of them is words of affirmation. So, and this is different for different people. Some people are not big on this. Some
Hmm.
people don't feel like they have to hear words of how much somebody appreciates them all the time, or feel like they have to say it. And for other people like me, it's just really nice to hear the words of like, hey, I appreciate you. I'm thinking about you. You're important to me. Just that
Hmm.
affirmation and that reassurance that that person is important to you, right?
Hmm.
So, what are some ways we can practice words of affirmation? I think this kind of, we'll see as we go through this workshop, a lot of these overlap, right? Because a gift could be also a word of affirmation if you take the
Hmm.
time to craft a really lovely letter or card for somebody and send that. But you also write a really wonderful note in that card about what that person means to you. That's words of affirmation,
Hmm.
right? Um, Even just sending a text, like the other day, my friend in New York, who I haven't checked in with a while, just sent a text, hey, how are you doing? I've been thinking about you. That was really nice just to know that I was on her mind, and it allowed us to have a conversation and really just express to each other how much we care about one another.
Hmm.
Um, Something a lot of people do, like on somebody's birthday, they might put something on Facebook or Instagram, a picture of the two of you and a nice message about what that person means to you, right? Specifically telling somebody a quality that they have that you appreciate about them. Um, my friends kind of get annoyed with me sometimes because usually when I'm at like a birthday party or a graduation celebration or something of that nature, I'm like the person who gets up and is like, okay, so let's all go around and say something we really like about Liz or whatever. And be
Yeah.
like, oh, really? Do we have to do that? And it's like, well, even though it can feel silly and corny, it can be really nice just to
Yeah.
hear what somebody appreciates about you. So, Jimmy, I don't know if this is really a big one for you, but uh, are there ways in which you practice words of affirmation with others or enjoy getting them back to you?
Yeah, so I think my group of friends do something very similar. So we call this thing called circle. Basically, how did you get here, and who brought you here? So a lot of times when we do like social gatherings, I know that's a little bit different nowadays. But however, if you do meet someone new, we do a circle. Like how did you get here? Like when did you first meet this person? How are you at this moment right now? It's time, and it really shows a lot of appreciation. Really reaffirm a person. Like thank you for meeting with me. Thank you for taking the opportunity to become my friend. I'm now here because of you, and then it really connects the whole full circle. It's really cool. For me, myself personally, at the end of the day, you know, I definitely have to go outside and just look at myself and say, you know, you did a good job today. You know, saying these things to yourself out loud. I'm a audio learner, you know, so I have to say these things out loud. Otherwise, it just sits in my head and goes away or never hears it out loud. So I have to say these things to myself constantly to reaffirm myself as a person, especially when we have those long days, you know, because we're staring at a computer all day. If you're staring at a computer all day or if you're talking to your friends all day, just thank yourself for a minute. Say, you know, you've been a good friend. You've been a good daughter. You've been a good son, whatever, right? Just be proud of yourself for being that person, giving yourself that time to really connect with the person.
Yeah, I love that you brought it back to yourself, right? Because
Yeah.
it's important to note that we can give these things to ourselves. You know, you can gift yourself with something like a little material good that you want, or just saying to yourself, like, I did a good job today. I'm doing the best I can. Like those words of affirmation, you can give those to
Mm-hmm.
yourself too. That can be powerful. Cool.
So
So
go ahead.
about what about acts of service? So, Jimmy, what does acts of service mean, and how do you kind of demonstrate that love language?
So active service, I think we kind of touched bases a little bit on a little bit of on already, like texting your friends, giving your time, kind of like quality time, giving yourself a check-in with your friends, you know, focusing. But I want to note that, you know, when you are doing active service, it's really focusing on one person at a time. We tend to kind of get ourselves overwhelmed because we want to fulfill everyone's void at this time. Just pause, give yourself a second, check in with yourself, reaffirm yourself, and then provide active services. We're our best self when we're the most maintained, sustained, and supportive of ourselves, right? We don't want to burn ourselves out by constantly providing active service to our peers. However, it does feel great if that's who you are, right? Um, if you want to team it with your friends or family, go around the community, pick up trash, offering to do gardening right now. Gardening is huge. You know, everyone has a garden right now. I have a neighbor who took his whole front yard. I'm not even sure it's legal, and made it a whole garden. um, offer same events for your friends. You know, do outdooring events like go to the park. Hey, let's host this social gathering. Host bonfire, maybe a barbecue. Offer to pick up food for your friends from curbside. There's just endless things going on. I know one thing I did personally for myself is I sent a dollar or two uh, to people who needed it, right? Then I also sent a meal voucher to my nurse friends on Venmo, but also different apps for thanking them for their time and services. Um, what else? Let's see. Do you have anything you want to add to this, Joanna?
Yeah, I like how you added in showing appreciation for
Mm-hmm.
acts of service by like compensating people. I think a lot of times we just expect to kind of consume media and education without necessarily investing in it. And one thing I've tried to do is like invest in like Black educators, like donate to um, Black educators who are out there educating people about racism, writing articles, talking about those really important social issues that we need to be paying attention to right now.
Mm-hmm.
Acts of service, at least in my personal life, I've noticed that's one that I have to pay attention to because with me, I'm more like quality time, words of affirmation, but my partner is more acts of service. So he really appreciates it if I like cook him dinner or, help him with a chore that he's putting off or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
that is one way that he feels very appreciated. So some people are really like that. For my parents, especially when things were a bit more, like when cases were rising a bit more, I would go pick up their groceries for them
Mm-hmm.
um, and things like that. So if you have vulnerable family members and loved ones who can't go to stores or you're worried about them putting themselves at risk, Or even like if you have like neighbors, elderly community members, you can do that for. Single moms who you can like pick up their groceries or just do something like that. That can be a really good way to show somebody you care.
Mhm. For sure, because this is very challenging time, and for you to provide that role, to be that role taker and take charge and help someone out, it's a great way to really connect.
Yeah, for sure. So maybe for people looking at this or watching this either now or at a later time, think to
Mhm.
yourself, what's something nice I could just do for somebody I care about? Like, what is some way I can contribute to my community or somebody in particular? I think the cool thing about acts of service is it not only helps that person, but it feels really good
Yeah.
for us when we give something and give, an act of service. So it can be beneficial to yourself too.
Hmm. So I know the next part, we're moving to quality time. I always felt almost insecure sometimes a little bit. Can you talk more about this in quality time? So I know that you have more, this is something up your alley. Sometimes I feel like I'm taking up too much personal time. I feel like I'm intruding. I was hoping you could talk more about this.
So when you say you feel like you're intruding, what do you mean by that?
Because sometimes I'll hang out with friends too often, right? And then you start
Okay.
feeling insecure, right? Because that's everyone craves quality time right now, right? And we also struggle with balancing it.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, and some people are extroverted and want more of that quality
Yeah.
time than others. So there can be a discrepancy there. So I think that piece goes down to communication, right? Like, what does quality time mean to you, and what's your capacity for it, right? Because the key word is quality, not quantity, right?
100%. 100%.
Quality time to me means like you're really being present with that person,
Hmm.
right? So, even though it can feel nice to like watch a movie together, just hang out and like coexist, and that can feel like quality time in a way. What I think of as quality time is like we're really like doing an activity together, we're engaging with one another, we're having a
Hmm.
conversation. We're not just like numbing out or pretending the other person isn't here,
For
right?
sure.
So even if you're an introvert, like I'm actually a bit more of an introvert, and I love quality time, um, because it doesn't even have to be that long. It could be quality time for me could just be talking on the phone with somebody for 30 minutes, and that could just like really get me through the rest of the day, right?
Hmm.
So doing an activity together, playing a game, like um, just having a moment to like with your housemates or your family that you live with to check in at the end of the day and talk about what your day was like,
Hmm.
right? That can mean a lot, and that can just really provide a great opportunity for connection. And I would say if you're feeling like you're a burden with your quality time to somebody, like have a conversation with that person and be like, hey, like I know I love spending all of this time with you, but I understand people have different needs. So like, what are your thoughts about that? How much time do you feel like you need to yourself, and am I taking that away from you?
Yeah, I think we all kind of have that question sometimes when you spend too much time with a certain individual or group of friends. Like, are we spending too much time together, or are we, like you said before, quantity over quality? Sometimes we question it ourselves. In reality, what if it is quality time for the other person and yourself?
Yeah, totally. And maybe that other person really has the same preferences for quality time that you do, and they're
Yeah.
fine with it. You never know until you ask.
Hmm. So, is there anything else that we want to touch bases on?
I think I would just really encourage folks to like think about these different 5 love languages and
Hmm.
see which ones resonated to you from this conversation. Maybe you already like listened and you're like, oh, I know I'm definitely this and this. But if you're like, oh, I really like all of those, or I don't know which one, um, find one of those free quizzes online. And maybe even if you're in a relationship or you have a strong friendship or a family member you live with, maybe you could all do this together and like compare your results, and it can help you understand that person a bit more and understand yourself a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I think what Jimmy was saying about words of affirmation, applying that to yourself, you can do that with all of these, right?
Yep.
Really apply all of these to yourself.
And these are during unprecedented time. You know, things are weird right now. Just be kind to yourself. You know, we're all going through this together. We're all trying to navigate different ways to express our love language, and it's a unique way of doing it. We're all trying to adjust and just be there for each other. You know.
Totally.
Yep.
Totally. Yeah. So if you are watching this and you gave yourself this hour to watch this workshop, maybe take the rest of this time that is left over and give yourself some quality time. Go do something fun for yourself. Maybe do an activity or just give yourself some downtime. I think me and Jimmy will do the same, right? We're going to take this time for ourselves and take that self-care, right? Because we deserve it.
100%. All right, cool. Well, thank you everyone for being here. Take care.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.